banning singing in church, which is just absolutely outrageous. You see the pedophilia bill that just passed, SB 145, that just passed the legislature. All across America, you're seeing the rise of these anti-biblical, anti-God, anti-Christ legislation that's taking root right now, and they're using the pandemic as a cover-up.
You've been out holding concerts, or I guess worship protests, in some of the most shut down areas of the country. What kind of response are you seeing?
Man, it's so good to be with you guys, and really excited to share the testimony of what God's doing all over America. It's been phenomenal. We have seen thousands literally come to every city. I think tonight in Wisconsin will be our 24th city that we have visited. And the response of the church and the people of God has been tremendous. We're seeing a breakout of revival unlike I've ever seen in America. We're seeing salvations, healings, baptisms, people that are throwing away their suicide meds and coming to Jesus. I mean, it is literally a full-blown revival season right now.
Wow. Sean, why is it important for Christians to be involved in government? And I know that you just had a little bit of an unsuccessful run, but for a seat in Congress. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild run. I felt so compelled. I've been praying so much for America, and really, as a father of 4 kids, really concerned with the future of our nation, especially living in California. And I just felt like for me, taking a step to actually run was really putting feet to my prayers that I had prayed many years. But listen, we got to be salt and light, and that we cannot abdicate realms of society to darkness and decay. And that's what you're seeing right now, especially across California, is the inability for the church to engage has led to the overrun of our cities by these horrendous, godless leaders that are really releasing laws and going against the Constitution even of America, and our children are growing up under it.
Sean, thanks, first of all, for taking a stand and putting action to your words. You started talking about this a little bit, but if I ask you this, what's going on in our country and what's wrong right now?
Well, there's so much that's wrong. I mean, it's not hard to find. Obviously, you see things like the governor of California banning singing in church, which is just absolutely outrageous. You see the pedophilia bill that just passed, SB 145, that just passed the legislature. All across America, you're seeing the rise of these anti-biblical, anti-God, anti-Christ legislation that's taking root right now, and they're using the pandemic as a cover-up to slide in things across our nation. And really, it's leading to massive violence. We're seeing violence on the streets. We're seeing rioting. We're seeing our cities burn. And I believe that the church has the answers. And I've been saying this phrase in every city we go to across America. It's revival or bust. Like, that is our only hope, I believe, for a turnaround in America.
Sean, we're all trying to be obedient to laws. We're trying to be godly in our stance, in our beliefs. So what level of obedience versus disobedience is acceptable, and should we be demonstrating?
I think we look to the blueprint of the New Testament, where you see many of the church leaders, since that time now for 2,000 years, the church has endured persecution, pandemic, hardship, but yet they've continued to honor God above man. And I think for me, that is really in this season something we need to remember, is that the Lord calls us to come together and worship. He calls us to come together and pray. And regardless of what legislation comes down, or even the reason behind the legislation, we have a calling as believers to fear the Lord more than we fear men. And I think right now across America, you're seeing a great it really is a dividing line in the church as who is going to stand up and honor the Lord, who's going to follow his commandments and his calling, and who is cowering to these governmental tyrants that are imposing these restrictions that are simply against our faith.
Wow. Sean, where do you see the Hold the Line movement going?
You know, we want to empower the church to engage in this season, not only pursuing revival, but also engage in the political dialogue and be active as voters and people that know what's happening with the issues. But I think my heart right now really burns for Washington, D.C. And, you know, we are leading up, I feel like, to one of the most crucial elections in the history of this nation. And you know, there's no more powerful thing I think that we can do as the church than gather a few weeks before that on the mall in Washington, D.C., and worship Jesus and really declare that the government is upon his shoulders. So we're going to be there on October 25th. That's what a lot of this is building up to. You know, we're going to be in Kenosha, in Milwaukee, and Chicago, and Cleveland, and several cities across America leading up till then. But October 25th, I believe the Lord is really going to come and encounter us in Washington, D.C., and I would love for all of you out there to join us.
So, Sean, what can Christians across the country do? And as you answer that, just give them a reminder one more time about the Washington, D.C. event.
I think this is a time for courageous leadership. I really believe that the Lord and what we're seeing across these cities, we saw it in Minneapolis last night. We were in a parking lot of a Kmart, and it was literally on the street there, Lake Boulevard, that's been ravished by, you know, rioting and looting and burning, and it's just been destroyed. And yet in that place of destruction, the church came together with courage and boldness. We gathered with the spirit of unity to break off the heaviness, to break off the racial divide, to come together and release healing over this city. And I believe that is what the church needs to do. Rise up with courage. Don't cower to the godless politicians. Don't back down from the mob, but rise up in the spirit of courage and might, like a bunch of Davids before Goliath, and release our smooth stones of worship over the cities of America. Join us in Washington, D.C. Again, I'm going to plug this, October 25th. It's going to be epic.